10. Wednesday, we'll see a high of 6 below, partly to mostly sunny. Thursday, we'll only see a high of 10 below and a low of 30 below. I'm Madison Quinn, News Radio, KFGO.
As I told you in the preview, there is a lot to get to. It's going to be a busy week here on Afternoons Live, but you know what else? It's a busy week starting off a new legislative session out in St. Paul. And since that did gavel in today, I want to visit with State Senator Kent Deakin and get all the latest updates, and he's gracious enough to spend a little time with us right now. Senator, how you doing, man?
Oh, hi, Tyler. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, trying to get into the groove of another week. It's been a long winter, and I know people are just eager for that. We had a boat show here at the Fargo Dome on Saturday, Sunday, and it's okay. I'm ready for spring, but maybe you're going to get there a little bit more quickly because you're going to be so dang busy in the weeks ahead.
Yeah, that's true. Things are going to be moving fast. The time's going to be moving fast, I'm sure, as well. And yeah, I'm ready for spring too, so I'm okay with time moving a little quicker here after we get to springtime. But yeah, a lot to do in the meantime here. It's not a budget year this year, so usually this is the year we focus on just a bonding bill and doing a lot of policy stuff because we set the 2-year budget last year. But we have a large surplus that we're working with, so it's actually going to feel more like a budget year this year. We have $7.7 billion budget surplus to work with. We have about $52 billion budget overall, but $7.7 billion is a lot of surplus money to work with. Plus, we also have infrastructure money coming from the federal government. We expect to get about $6.8 billion from that to put into our roads and bridges and our transit system and our water infrastructure system. We do have to expend some funds of our own in order to leverage that money. But I think we'll get the full $6.8 billion because we're not going to leave any money on the table. We are actually in Minnesota. We are a contributor state, which means we pay more into the federal government than what we get back. So I want to make sure that we're getting every dime back that we can from the federal government.
Well, and that just makes good sense, in my opinion, when you're talking about especially those roads, bridges. I mean, it was over this weekend, or I think leading into the weekend in Pittsburgh. I mean, the president was making a stop and a bridge collapsed. And I know that locally here in our region, Senator, we've driven over them. We know which bridge is, okay, it's getting a little dated. Money being put towards that, no brainer. Try to get as much as you can, and obviously having to put a little in state budget-wise. That's something that seems to have, I don't want to say universal, but there is broad bipartisan support. I mean, the federal dollars you're speaking of came bipartisanly to get this out there. So I don't know that that's going to be necessarily as big of an uphill battle. You can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but boy, when you're talking about almost an $8 billion surplus, that's where all those creative ideas come in, and sometimes it seems like there's a bit of space between those.
Right, and you're right, Tyler. As far as the infrastructure money, I think you're going to have broad bipartisan support and making sure we provide the matching funds necessary to secure all those dollars. And you mentioned the bridge situation. That's especially concerning. Bridges are especially expensive as well to fix, and we have fallen quite far behind in the maintenance of these bridges. And we don't want to have any more tragic events happening, like what happened in Pennsylvania or what happened here in Minnesota,
right.
A few years ago, on I-35W when that bridge collapsed. That should not be happening here in Minnesota and here in this country. We need to make sure that we're investing in that infrastructure that's critically important to not just our safety, but our ability to thrive economically. We need to have a thriving infrastructure. And so I think you're going to see a lot of attention focused on that. And, we have been falling behind because the costs of maintenance and repairs, and especially this year, with inflation, those costs just keep going up and up. And so we need to keep up with that, with that maintenance.
Senator, one of the things that's been discussed now for, 2 years, or going on what feels like 2 years, is those frontline workers. I think the last time you and I had an opportunity to visit, we discussed this, and when we're looking at a budget surplus as we are, has there been any movement? Have we narrowed down who's going to be potentially one of those frontline workers that might get a credit or a tax refund, or however the system works out? Have we gotten any closer between Democrats, Republicans, the administration, and Governor Walz saying, all right, here's the group, here's the dollar amount, or are we still a long ways apart?
Well, I think it's going to get closer because the surplus has changed the situation. We were looking at a $250 million for the frontline workers, and the negotiations broke down over who should all be included. Should it just be those working in long-term care and in healthcare facilities, or should it include people like daycare providers, for instance, as well, and others who were working with people on a daily basis during the pandemic and facing greater threat of getting COVID themselves. And of course, the argument, for focusing it on just the healthcare workers is, it'll obviously be more money for each individual, whereas if you add more groups, it spreads it out more thinly. But now we have this surplus. And so the governor has proposed going up from $250 million up to $1 billion. So, so he's not only doubling, he's quadrupling the amount of money to put into it. And that should allow enough to cover everybody, that the House Democrats wanted to get covered and still be, a sufficient amount. I think they're looking at $1,500 an individual on average, to help them out. And it's a one-time payment, but they deserve some recognition and compensation for the threats and the dangers that they faced during this pandemic. And so I think we're going to see an agreement come together more quickly now as a result. That's one of the things that, extra money in the bank helps to facilitate, to bring people together more. Although I do think it's important to note that some have said they feel that dealing with a deficit sometimes can be easier than dealing with a surplus because everybody's expectations goes through the roof when you've got a large surplus.
Yeah.
And managing expectations can be rather challenging sometimes. When you're in a deficit, everybody's just kind of keeping their head down, hoping that they're not the ones to get cut. But when there's a surplus, everybody's at the door, wanting some part of that surplus.
What we always heard was, it's a lot easier to say no when you don't have any money. But when we're talking about, this isn't a small surplus. We're talking almost $8 billion. So I'm sure there's going to be some creative ideas coming to your front door and to the office out there. My guest right now is Senator Kent Deakin. District 4 Minnesota legislative session just got underway. And it's important that you noted earlier that this is typically a policy session. So I'm going to use that as a way to pivot into something that I would say is a policy that Governor Walz threw out just last week, I think. There was a lot of news being made in Minnesota last week about recreational pot, recreational marijuana, ways of which people are talking about it. How do you get it to where it's managed, that it's taxed? I'm just curious your thoughts on Governor of Minnesota coming out saying this is something I want us to start tackling now.
Yeah, and first of all, I've always been a strong supporter of medicinal marijuana, using it for medical purposes, and was actually a co-author on the bill to make that happen here in Minnesota. I felt too that we should actually allow for more illnesses to be treated that way, because we found, we know where it benefits people health-wise, especially with seizures that children are going through, and with cancer patients who are, going through chemotherapy and cancer treatments. It's been very helpful for them. As far as recreational marijuana, that is a different situation. I'm a little more concerned that we not move too quickly on that front. I'm not saying that it should never happen, but maybe, look closely at other states where it has been happening. It's been spread. The legalization of recreational marijuana has been spreading more and more to more states across the country. I'm thinking that eventually it's probably going to happen here and, probably across the whole country eventually. But I don't think that we should be jumping too quickly. I hear a lot of talk, about the money that we can make off of taxing it. But we also have to look at the cost side of it as well. And, we are trying to reduce the amount of, drug abuse in our society. Is creating some real problems. I certainly don't want to send a signal that, encouraging people to engage in behavior that might be destructive to their ability to get ahead. I'm especially concerned about young people. So I haven't, made final decisions on this, but I have to say that there are some concerns that I think we need to look at very closely before moving ahead with any policy to have a full-blown legalization of recreational marijuana here in Minnesota.
Senator, final question, or I guess the final platform goes to you. What else priorities for you with this legislative session going on, whether it's surplus, whether that's infrastructure, or other policies? The stage is yours before I let you get back after it.
Sure. Well, one priority for me is dealing with the long-term care crisis that we're facing in our state. And again, this is an issue across the country, but it's especially pronounced in the greater Minnesota communities, where we do have a larger percentage of our population in those age groups. We're looking for more long-term care. And the crisis has been made all that much worse because of the pandemic. It's really been a crisis on top of a crisis. We now have a huge staffing crisis at that level. So I think that we need to address that. I've actually got a constitutional amendment in that would create a dedicated fund just to ensure those most vulnerable citizens in our state get the care that they need. So that's something I'm working on. I also think property tax relief needs to be a big part of this. I also feel, I think the property taxes are the least fair tax there is. It hits lower and middle income people the hardest. It hits people in greater Minnesota the hardest. And it doesn't take into consideration the amount of money that you're bringing in, your income level. So I think that we should be doing all we can to ratchet down the property tax burden. I actually feel that, eventually I'd like to see it phased out and for us to switch over to a less regressive, fairer form of taxation.
Very good, Senator. Hey, I appreciate it. I know how busy these first days are, and to give us 10 minutes of your time to kind of give us the lay of the land, I appreciate that. Let's do this again. Let's keep updated on what's going on out in St. Paul, all right?
That sounds great, Tyler. Thanks for the opportunity to talk.
Yeah, I appreciate your chance to join us here, and we'll chat again next week, perhaps.
You bet.
All right, you take care. State Senator Kent Deakin, District 4, right here in Minnesota. Your thoughts, 35270. That is the Eye Consultants of North Dakota Text Club. You can also call me on the Laney studio line, 237-5948. Some messages coming in about those frontline workers checks. I'll get to those. Also, the recreational marijuana situation. Do you support it? Do you think Minnesota should enact this session, this policy session, with the surplus being what it is? That taxation possibility, we'll have that conversation when we come back on a Monday afternoon. Stick around.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Two tall tops,
Joel
man.
Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah
7.
Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. is people are coming in. If they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're getting.
I appreciate, especially on day one of a legislative session getting underway, that State Senator Ken Deakin provided a little bit of time for us just to get a preview of what's in store. As far as his priorities, I don't think it's tough to argue against long-term care being a priority, especially with staffing levels being what they are across the country. Now, I think where the dollars are going to come in is whether or not you can afford to pay them a wage deserving of the position. I mean, there are people out there, and we keep coming back to the competitive nature, I think, of just the entire workforce now compared to what it was not very long ago. Yeah, where you can go into other fields and make more money than what you had prior. And when you think about the responsibilities that come with a long-term care facility and what those staff, the nurses are doing and undertaking day to day, underpaid. I mean, quite frankly, they're underpaid. So it's going to take money to, I think, address that situation when it comes to getting people to want to maintain that employment or to decide whether or not they want to take that opportunity on if they haven't already. So I admire that property tax relief. You're not going to find me argue that one bit either. I mean, that's one issue. Whenever you talk about taxes in general in this upper Midwest, the one that continuously comes up in the broadest sense is do something about property taxes. So I'm there. When it comes to the recreational marijuana measure, that's where I think maybe there's a little bit of a space between Senator Deakin and myself, because I think it's been proven in other states that you can do it. You can do it responsibly. You can make some revenue off of it. You can educate about the impacts of this substance as well. And I think if you go out there and if you had it up for a general public vote, it passes. And I can base that off of what happened in South Dakota, in which you passed it down there, South Dakotans. And then your governor got law enforcement involved or utilized them kind of to cover her behind and get it thrown out. So I think that Wall's throwing this up, and I'm going to use that to address this other message coming in. I think it's become more popular. It's become more accepted, the recreational side, aside from just the medical and the medicinal use. This person pointing out, Tyler, refresh my memory. Walls is up for re-election. They were joking on. I already know he is. Insert Oprah gif. You get a check, you get a check, you get a check. I think this tossing out recreational marijuana has more of a political background than the checks, and I'll explain on the flip side of this KFGO News. I'm Tyler Axis. You're listening to Afternoons Live on KFGO.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. Right. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey,
News and weather this hour brought to you by Dakota Monument. Dakota Monument Company, making memories last forever. Call for an in-home consultation.
KFGO News, Fargo-Moorhead, 21 degrees now. We'll see a high of 30 this afternoon, mostly cloudy and breezy, and a winter storm warning in effect. I'll get you the times on that and everything after KFGO News. A deputy state fire marshal is investigating the cause of a deadly apartment fire in Detroit Lakes. Blaze was reported at about 10:30 Saturday morning on Loring Avenue. 61-year-old Carrie Bishop died. Ramsey County Medical Examiner's Office will determine a cause of death. Fire damage was held to Bishop's apartment, but there was smoke damage throughout. The Audubon and Frazee departments assisted Detroit Lakes fire crews. 2 people are in jail in Jamestown, arrested after being accused of stealing someone's identity to make over $30,000 in purchases. Police were notified last week that someone was using personal information to buy items from stores in Jamestown and Bismarck. Victim thought the thefts were the work of people they know. A search warrant was conducted at a home Saturday, and much of the merchandise was recovered. The man and woman are facing charges of unauthorized use of personal identifying information. KFGO News Time, it's 2:31, currently 21 degrees in Moorhead. Currently 21 degrees in Fargo-Moorhead. You're listening to KFGO News. University of Minnesota Infectious Disease Director Dr. Michael Osterholm says some variants of the Omicron are now appearing, and the B2 subvariant will likely account for most infections.
The surge still appears to be winding down.
So the surges will still come down. The case numbers will come down, but how that tail will look, how long it will take before the cases come down substantially. Will we see some increases like we've seen in some countries, the United Kingdom, saw it go up, come down, and then go back up a bit. And so I think that part of the story is still yet to be written.
Osterholm says it's unclear if another booster shot will be needed.
That's reporter Laura Oakes. A Bismarck trucking company with a history dating back to 1918 has been sold for $150 million. Midwest Motor Express has been purchased by Knight Swift, a publicly traded freight company listed on the New York Stock Exchange. The new owner says Midwest will continue to operate from its headquarters in Bismarck, and its sister company, Midnight Express, will do the same from Fargo. The company began as Snyder's Dray and Transfer and used horses and wagons to deliver coal, cream, gravel, and freight. In 1938, the name changed to Midwest Motor Express. Well, as Valentine's Day approaches, personal finance website Wallet Hub has released its report on the best and worst states for singles, and the news isn't great for North Dakota. State ranks 3rd overall for singles and is at the very bottom when it comes to gender balance and restaurants per capita, 2 key factors for dating. North Dakota's better than average medium annual household income helped the state avoid the fate of West Virginia, which ranked last in the survey. California edged out New York for the number 1 spot for singles in America, while Minnesota ranked a respectable 12th, with South Dakota coming in 39th. All right, taking a look at the KFGO Weather Center forecast from KFGO's chief meteorologist, Too Tall Tom Szymanski. This afternoon, we'll see a high of 30, mostly cloudy and breezy. Tonight, we'll see a low of 8, windy areas of light snow and mixed precipitation. Tomorrow, we'll see a high of 10 degrees, windy with areas of blowing snow, and that snow will wrap up in the early morning. Wednesday, high of 6 below, partly to mostly sunny. Thursday, we'll see a high of 10 below and a low of 30 below. Friday, we'll jump back up to a high of 12. I'm Madison Quinn, News Radio, KFGO.
On a mild Saturday morning in the upper Midwest, this Saturday at the Fargo Dome. Rusty Halverson did make an appearance up at the boat show in which I was sort of working up there. Good to see you. Did you
were
pull?
working.
Yeah, sort of. You don't tell that to them upstairs. I was busting tail up there. That's what you're saying.
Darn tootin'.
But the boat show it was a fun opportunity to get up there, visit with some people, look at some of the new things. There are the pontoons, the sound systems on some of these pontoons now. Oh. And of course, if you've ever been, so you're on the water, and that thing just the water carries the sound.
Yeah,
you could be on one side of Pelican and be hearing that on the complete opposite side, the way they have some of the sound systems these days.
Yeah,
and you got the whole lighting kit. I mean, it's basically like just a big old party bus.
It's a disco on the water.
Yeah. So my wish list grew. There was not a purchase. I know you were looking for something that.
Yeah, pretty specific.
Don't know that you had any luck by the sound.
No.
Well, it was good to see you up there. Glad
you too.
Around. So this name keeps coming up, and rightfully so. I mean, he is the Ag Secretary, Tom Vilsack.
Yeah.
Had another announcement today. Is that my understanding?
Yeah. Well, speaking of the water, Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack today announcing plans to increase capacity at the Port of Oakland in Oakland, California, and try to improve service for shippers of U.S.-grown agricultural commodities. During a webinar earlier today, Andrew Wong, one of the managers for the Port of Oakland, said it's an effort to retain international customers. Now, the problem, Tyler, has been that ocean carriers have circumvented traditional marketing channels, and they've rushed containers back to be exported empty back to Asian destinations. And as a result, many of these carriers have suspended service to the Port of Oakland, according to USDA. So this pop-up site, this 25-acre pop-up site, could make it easier for ag companies to fill empty shipping containers and send them overseas. And that should begin in early March, according to estimates.
About a month away. It's the last day in January. I mean, yeah, it's got to be. I mean, it is frustrating. You've got empty containers that could be carrying product, but boy, we're just so plugged up, congested. It's just time is of the essence.
Yeah, and critics in Congress or critics wherever may say that we're not doing enough, but we've opened up ports in L.A., Long Beach, Oakland on a 24/7 basis. That's part of what it is, because you've also have to have trucking. You also have railroad considerations when it comes to being operational 24/7. Right. And the officials today saying this is just another good first step. We're getting there.
We need the bodies to be doing the work, and I think that is
Correct.
a challenge not only in this situation, but I mean we're just talking about long-term care. It's across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you solve it.
Yeah,
I mean I agree when you're saying that this is a good first step.
Yep,
but
yep,
there's a lot deeper issues I think that still need to be addressed, and I just don't even know where to begin.
Yeah,
and unfortunately I don't know that anyone in the administration does either right now.
Well, chipping away at it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Appreciate it, Rusty. Come back next hour, all right?
Absolutely.
Rusty Halverson, Sarah Heinrich, multi-award winning journalist in agriculture. You can go to kfgo.com. You can check out the latest if you click on that agriculture tab. CBS National News on the way. We're going to continue a conversation about the health care, the frontline workers, the money in Minnesota, who should be included, how much. I mean, we're talking about going from $250 million to $1 billion. There is a lot to uncover there, and there's a lot of people that could benefit from that if they just finally get it done. That conversation also, sports betting, have you done it? What are you using? We'll talk about at least one individual that got quite lucky over the weekend, that and more on a Monday afternoon. This is KFGO Fargo.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. Right. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas Couch
790.
Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Thank you, KFGO listeners, for making such a big impact over the last Thursday and Friday. Cares for Kids Radiothon. You got Y94, Froggy, our sister stations, putting this on for a number of years. But to be a part of that, and then to see at the end of the radiothon that you as listeners across this platform donated, $170,000. Just need to take a moment and say thank you for getting the checkbook out and being as generous, knowing that does help kids across this entire region. That, quite frankly, provides intricate health care to a very vulnerable population, and it costs a lot more to do just that. And it's done possible because of the generosity of many of you. So thank you again for those of you that did take time Thursday and Friday to donate to that Cares for Kids radiothon. I'm going to get back to this one message because the frontline workers debate, as far as on the Minnesota side of this radio network that you're listening to on KFGO, this debate's been ongoing now for over a year. And it's tough to argue against doing something now, and I would say doing something rather bold when you're looking at a budget surplus of about $8 billion, or 7.7 to be exact. It's tough to say no when you've got those kind of resources, and I think that's what State Senator Kent Deakin was getting to. That's why, the old saying in any legislative body, it's a lot easier to deal with a deficit because it's so easy to say, nope, we ain't got the money. Be innovative, find another way. We don't have the means to help you. Minnesota can't make that argument right now. And the debate's going to be as to how you best benefit those that are out there, at least on the front lines. And I think the original intent, noble as it is, long overdue. Whether that's for the nursing individual or the law enforcement, those people that were keeping those shelves stocked. I mean, we've had an argument as to where you draw the line on, or not an argument, a debate on where you draw the line on who is a frontline worker. I think with this ability, because the argument that was being made, and that was the argument, is if you have this pool be too big, that means each individual is getting a smaller piece of that pie. You can have your cake in this situation and eat it too, because of this ability of the $7.7 billion surplus. So if you're going from $250 million to $1 billion, you can certainly go across and include more people that I think we do consider those frontline workers during the course of this pandemic. And you can ensure that you also have a more robust check that's getting delivered in the mail. Now, whether that's politicking or not, which is coming at me in the text club, the reason why I think the marijuana announcement that Walz had last week plays more into politics and election than this, because this debate's been raging for quite some time, even before any re-election announcement was made. So I think there's movement here. You're going to see something. The debate will be had in the legislature as to who and how much. And I think that that group should be larger, and that check should be equally as large. But as far as the recreational marijuana, I mean, that's where what I'm looking at to re-election, because I do believe, and I think South Dakota is the prime example of this. You have this general question on a poll of whether or not you're okay with recreational marijuana. More and more and more people are saying, sure. Or it's met with more of a shoulder shrug instead of the absolutely not. This is a gateway drug. So you have the backing of the general public saying, why not? Other states have done it. In fact, if you're a regular listener of the show, I threw a prediction out there quite some time ago saying by this next presidential election, somebody will have made that offering, because it is going to be more politically popular to do so. You vote for me, we'll make it legal. We'll do some of the things on the criminal side as well. If you've been arrested for A through C, here's what's going to be taken off your record because it's now legal. Because one thing that keeps coming back in this debate, whether it's South Dakota, North Dakota, which just last week we did hear that one of the potential measures didn't gather enough signatures, and we can have a discussion as to why that might have failed. But you are hearing the debate on whether or not, if you legalize this, look, it's still federally not allowed. I do believe that's going to change sooner rather than later, because it's politically popular and more now than it was prior. You have people from all political backgrounds that have come to realize there's an opportunity here. Sure, there comes with it some things that are on the negative side, but when it comes to revenue, when it comes to getting out and educating, why not control some of that instead of having it forced upon us? So if we're going to talk about what Walz is doing in this session as being more politically motivated, give me the introduction that he wants to legalize recreational marijuana before we talk about these checks getting larger being the political driving force for re-election. Your thoughts, 237-5948. That's Laney's studio line. You can also text me, as many of you choose to do, on the iConsultants of North Dakota text club, which is 35270. Speaking of getting some positive with some things that might have a negative effect, let's talk about sports betting and sports gambling. It's been a topic off and on for quite some time, but when you're seeing an individual throw $20 into a bet and the return because he got it right, that catches your attention as well. We'll have that conversation. And anything else you want to talk about today, so you mute this microphone, your cell phone. Sports, video games, politics, it's all on the table. I'm here for you, and I'm Tyler Axis, your host. Eric Johnson, your producer. Stay with us.
Roberson here with another Dynamite After News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek Hansen, Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
From It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voice of Sports.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on the MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
From the top of the hour, 3 o'clock, we'll get you caught up with your national news headlines and CBS. We'll check back in with that KFGO News Center as well. We left you on Friday afternoon with what had at the time appeared to be a decent update on a situation when it comes to our Attorney General, Wayne Stenjum. And it was sad to see Friday evening that that was no longer the case. And, for a lot of people pouring out with their memories of Wayne Stenjum, because I think across political spectrums, there's a lot of respect for him as an individual. Could disagree on obviously the politics. That's the way it's supposed to be, and still enjoy each other's company. And one thing, I was very young and immature, perhaps, when first elected out in the state Senate, but working on certain bills, and anytime you had questions when it came to some of that, Wayne was usually pretty dang good to work with, and always pretty sharp in his wit when things or kind of in that gray area, and try to find some humor and sometimes what could be tense conversations, because obviously when you're dealing with law enforcement, you're dealing with a number of other situations that can cause friction, because I think as you're watching, there's a lot of debate on how you handle law enforcement, how you handle the justice system as well when it comes to punishment for that crime. But you never really walked away thinking you were butting heads and you couldn't just enjoy a good laugh after the fact. So I just want to take a second here to send my condolences to the Stenjum family, about the tragic news that happened Friday evening. 35270, you can send in your thoughts on any topic at hand. You can also call the Laney studio line at 237-5948. In a little bit, I do want to talk about the fact that over this weekend, there was a couple of things that caught my attention. One is you've got some financial reporting coming in for initiated measures on the North Dakota side of the river, there's going to be a measure that's going to attempt to make it more difficult when it comes to constitutional measures. And they're going to tell you, look, this is grassroots led. This is all people, that call North Dakota home that want to change things to protect North Dakota's Constitution. When you go to the Secretary of State's website and you start looking through some of the big donors, say like $180,000 provided from the Greater North Dakota Chamber of Commerce. When you go and look at how much money the coal pack is given, and $25,000. When you look at some of these other, organizations, lobbying organizations, you begin to question the true merits. The North Dakota Petroleum Council, $50,000. North Dakota Motor Carriers Association, $1,000. That's on the lower spectrum. When you think about grassroots, do you think about those lobbying organizations as being really grassroots when they're getting a lot of their finances from out-of-state corporations for some of the cases? So all this chatter that we've got to protect North Dakota's Constitution against all these out-of-state special interests when you are being funded by these same, centralized out of, whatever city you're at. They're donating money to that organization because you're representing them, trying to impact laws in North Dakota. There's a bit of a hypocrisy there that I think we do need to unpack when it comes to making it more difficult for the people to get out, get an initiated measure when it comes to changing North Dakota's Constitution. My question to you is pretty simple. Do you think you need to increase barriers to change things for North Dakota's Constitution, or are things going relatively smooth the way it is as of now when it comes to the number of signatures, when it comes to the number of people needed to vote, because they want it to be 60% of the vote to become a constitutional change? Is that something you agree with? You can let me know at 35270. You can also let me know on the Laney Studio line. We'll have that conversation. The $20 bet that got somebody $580,000 in return because of the AFC and NFC championship games. That and Joe Rogan all over the news. Conversation as to limitations. Do you put the disclaimers on just like we used to do on any CD or cassette you used to buy? Remember the parental advisories? That's in essence what is being done with some of these new platforms. It's that sticker provided in a digital format before you listen to a podcast. And that conversation, and we'll recap the weekend in sports. Derek Hansen, host of Couch Potato Radio, will join us before that 5 o'clock punch out. I'm Tyler Axis. You are listening to Afternoons Live on KFGO.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. You know, that's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Robertson here with another Untitled News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News
Katie Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Access, your home.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. Right. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff.
The AFC championship game on CBS, because somebody out there, and I said it right away, when they were setting up and they have the crew, basically by the end zone, and I could see behind Nate Burley said, I mean, the stack of speakers are back there, they're not going to be able to hear a thing, and let alone.
It sounded a little bit like this.
Yeah.
With you trying to talk.
You can't really hear me talking much. It was great, though. I loved it. I mean, and Walker Hayes, this isn't exactly my style of.
You don't like country rap?
No, I do not.
I tell you though, this song,
Willie Whalen and the Boys,
if you
Cash,
a 16-year-old Tyler ripping down the gravel roads around Leeds, this thing would bang on those subs.
No, I probably had Dre.
Well, yes, that's better, but this one would make them sound nice.
But I want to know, because it kind of feels like it was intentional, right? Somebody from Walker Hayes, Rhodey Crew, said, you know what? CBS is going to do their little halftime report. Let's go ahead and put a speaker behind them so they hear our song over anything that they've got to say.
And I think you had a similar thing happen in the NFC Championship later in the day, and I believe it was the Chainsmokers were the band at halftime in L.A.
I didn't notice that one as much.
Yeah.
We've got some more on this date as well. North Dakota ranking 3rd worst for dating. Are you surprised by that? I don't care if you're from Minnesota or South Dakota listening. Also, a couple of other items. We'll have a little bit of fun in the second hour of Afternoons Live, but I got to get you caught up with KFGO News now.
Currently 22 degrees in Fargo-Moorhead. This afternoon, we're going to see a high of 30, mostly cloudy and breezy. I'm Madison Quinn from the KFGO News Center. The cause of a deadly weekend apartment fire is under investigation in Detroit Lake. 61-year-old Carrie Bishop died. The blaze started in her apartment on Loring Avenue Saturday morning. Police Chief Steve Todd says the state fire marshal's office is leading the investigation.
Our investigations unit and our fire chief are both assisting with that. I don't have any comments as far as the cause of the fire, other than I will tell you there does not appear to be any suspicious nature.
There was extensive fire damage to the apartment of Bishop, and residents of the other units were displaced for the weekend. Medical examiner's office in St. Paul will determine how Bishop died. A house fire in St. Cloud, Minnesota has killed one person while firefighters rescued another person in a wheelchair. Third person was able to make it out of the burning home. Police and the fire department found smoke in the house. They found the person in the wheelchair on the first floor and were told that there was still another person on the second floor. Due to heavy smoke, first responders weren't able to check the second level. As firefighters worked to put out the fire, an adult victim was found on the second floor. A man was killed when he was struck by an SUV on a highway in Towner County in northern North Dakota. State Patrol says 65-year-old Charles Huvanen was slouched in a lane of traffic on Highway 281 near Rock Lake when he was hit Sunday night. Driver of the SUV is a 41-year-old woman from Kando. Huvanen is originally from Rock Lake. Defense attorneys at the trial of 3 former Minneapolis police officers charged with violating George Floyd's civil rights have raised questions about the department training and culture they say teaches new officers not to question their superiors. Prosecutors say the 3 failed to give him medical aid as Officer Derek Chauvin knelt on Floyd's neck. Defense is trying to make the case that the training was not adequate, including in how to respond to someone in an agitated state. Looking at the KFGO Weather Center forecast from meteorologist Tom Szymanski, winter storm warning in effect from 6 this evening to 3 tomorrow afternoon. This afternoon, hopefully seeing a high of 30. Tonight, windy areas of light snow, possibly mixed precipitation. Tomorrow, we'll see a high of 10, windy areas of blowing snow. Snow wrapping up in the early morning. Wednesday, we'll see a high of 6 below, low of 18 below, partly to mostly sunny skies. I'm Madison Quinn, News Radio, KFGO.
One of the things that I saw blowing up social media last night, yeah, it's got everything to do with the AFC-NFC championship game, but nothing on the field, nothing about the sound on the halftime. It has to do with the fact that somebody bet $20 on both these games, on both scores, got it right, and won. I think it was it $570,000 or $580,000? A lot of money on a $20 bet.
Closer to 600,000 than 500,000.
Correct. This is just insane, but it brings to light yet again, the varying ways of betting and gambling when it comes to sports. You have varying degrees in one state versus the next. I know that there are people in North Dakota saying, hey, next time you talk to your lawmaker, be sure to have them push to legalize some of this. But there's such a grayness to all of it because there are some people that are undertaking sports betting. You've got these online applications that, of course, they're pushing out during these broadcasts all the time. Hey, FanDuel, there's just so much to consume here. I don't even know where to begin. But I mean, a $20 bet getting you that is going to get people's attention saying, well, geez, I could throw $20 on this game.
Yeah, and he got both winners with the score exactly right, which is why it paid so much.
Correct.
Because anybody who's tried to predict winners knows how hard it is, let alone exact scores for both teams. And this actually folds into a conversation we had on the show last week in the cryptocurrency being the driving force for some of these offshore betting apps that you have. You get VPNs so you can make it look like you're somewhere else and you're paying with crypto, so it's an anonymous bet, and it becomes really tricky legally speaking.
See, and that's why I'm tying this a little bit into the recreational marijuana or the medicinal, to where if you do not try to get ahead of some of these things, I mean, the horse is already out of the barn here when it comes to sports betting. I mean, you're seeing it, right? When this is getting so much attention that, I mean, people that don't even watch sports and people that probably don't even gamble were sharing it yesterday. So, I mean, this is getting a lot of people's attention because obviously the dollar amount. Now, it's very difficult. There's a reason why a $20 bet returned that because of the difficult nature of the bet he placed. And I keep saying he. It could be a woman. I don't know. Don't hold that against me on a Monday afternoon. But now, because it's been kind of on this back, I don't want to say it's a black market because I don't mean that, but it's been allowed to just kind of breathe on its own and find ways around anything instead of getting out in front from a state side or a federal side, say this is what we would like this to look like, to clear up any confusion, to clear up any bad actors doing anything. But it just seems like it's so far out there now that the genie is gone, and I don't know how you get it to where you have these guidelines and the rails built that you're going to keep this on a track that is, kosher, up front, and all good.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that the dominoes in sports betting have fallen quickly because forever it was Las Vegas and Las Vegas alone. And then New Jersey, I believe, sued the federal government
that sounds right. Yep.
to be allowed to have it legal within their state borders, particularly Atlantic City. And then that created this cascading effect where now I think we're getting over half the states that it's legal on a state level to bet on sports. North Dakota is interesting because I don't know that any laws changed, but there is sports betting at Dakota Magic and Hankinson.
Right. Yep. That's again where, okay, did they just go with it? Because I know there was a debate in the legislature to allow this to be legalized in North Dakota, and it didn't pass. Yet it's still able to be done in a facility.
Right.
Now,
and
granted,
that's a tribal
nation, yes, where they have. So, I mean, and when I think about the connection, the compacts that we've had with, our Native American neighbors when it comes to the casinos, that's why there was such a heartache and there was such an uphill battle for anybody that wanted to do the pull tabs that are really just e-gaming. I mean, those are slot machines. They'll say that, the mechanism's just a little different to where, no, Tyler, it's not a slot machine. It is that. But by the sheer definition of the technicality, they're able to do this. And I wish I was able to get up the numbers to see how many people that has pulled away from taking the drive to Spirit Lake, for example, where I'm from, because you can go to any establishment now and see 3-4 of those right there. So you have that gray area. So if it's down in Hankinson and they're saying, we're going to make up for it because we'll allow sports betting, I don't fault them at all.
No.
Why not go for it? Because you have heard that gambling, at least on the North Dakota side, I know it's not isolated to, I just remember this headline coming out saying, the revenues from this type of gambling has skyrocketed. And I know from an individual that does the technical services to those machines that are in any given establishment that their entire year projections of what they were hoping to get was met within the first couple of months last year.
Yeah, and I think it should be noted that all of the gambling that you see in bars in North Dakota, whether it's blackjack, pig wheel, or the e-pull tabs, slot machines, the paper pull tabs, it's all going to a nonprofit or charity of some sort. I believe you have to be a 501c, and I could be wrong about that.
Well, that's why you see like West Fargo Fire Department is, they're the ones. So my question, because you've worked in the establishment, and then you've partook in the gambling on the other
I've been
side.
on both sides of it.
Are those, let's say the blackjack dealer, are they hired by the nonprofit?
Yes, they're employees of the nonprofit.
Okay.
They're not employees. And so where I worked at Chubb's, we didn't have blackjack, but we had the e-pull tabs and paper pull tabs. That was all separate from the business. It was a flat fee to the business every month is what they were paid to have these games in there, right? The idea being...
Per machine?
No.
Okay.
And that's one of the laws that's on the books to potentially be changed in the future is whether it's just a flat fee for charitable gaming or no charitable gaming or a payment per machine, because that makes a lot of difference because these machines take up space.
Right. That's why I'm surprised it's not per machine, because you see some establishments have a whole wall lined up, and others have two.
Yep. Yeah, and that's, as far as I know, it is a flat fee no matter if you have 20 of those machines in your business or 2.
Okay.
And so obviously the businesses would like a per machine because then it incentivizes having more of them. And, the idea is it keeps people in there longer, ordering more drinks. That's the idea behind it, because you're not making a percentage of the profits.
Right.
You're making a flat fee.
Yeah. Well, and I know that has taken off, I think, beyond even their wildest imagination, that you legalize that to be done outside of a traditional casino. So in a spot like North Dakota, to where I know people are sports betting some shape or form, and they're putting maybe a little bit more than the $20 that this individual put in and got the large return. There is a market here for it if you do it right, if you get ahead of it, and then if you put that towards maybe a good cause. Because that's one thing that always keeps coming back. This is one of those, the vice, the vice tax, I guess, to where, okay, we're going to allow this, but we're going to tax it in a way, and then it's going to go towards an education to, I guess a treatment, like gambling addiction, that sort of thing. I mean, the same thing goes for cigarettes. You think about the lawsuit that was happened there. And I have no doubt that marijuana, if you do it the right way, you can have that same sort of situation here. It just seems like we're always trying to play catch up to some of these things when there's an opportunity to allow for something that's already being done. And this is just the two big glaring ones when it comes to sports betting and recreational marijuana to me. 35270, the Deakin Consultants Text Club is coming up here. Tyler, state regulates price per machine, blackjack table, e-machine, etc. Thank you for that. Tyler, state statute mandates maximum rental paid to a bar for gaming devices is $400 per month. So we got some people coming in with a little bit more knowledge than I.
That was the number that I
Was
remembered. Which, in the scheme of things for some of those bars, it's not a lot, but you hope that it creates more revenue from drinks and
gets
food
people in.
sold.
Yeah. Very good. Continue the conversation. You just heard the Consultants of North Dakota text club number is 35270. You can also call us on the Laney studio line 237-5948. It's Monday afternoon. It is 3:20 KFGO time. You're listening to Afternoons Live.
Steve Robertson here with another Dunbar Hacker News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas
790
Couch
and
Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It
game?
Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Two tall tops,
Joel
man.
Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Access, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things.
Another item that we talked about just in passing last week was Neil Young coming out and saying, look, Spotify, go ahead and remove my catalog if you're going to have that Joe Rogan fella on your platform talking about, in particular, it was misinformation on COVID-19 and vaccines and mandates and all. I mean, it's the same song and dance that you've been hearing discussed what feels like forever, even though it's only been 2 years, if that, in this whole thing. But the last week you and I had spoke about this was that Spotify sided with Joe Rogan that took Neil Young's catalog off. He's now on any other platform. I think he was pushing people towards Amazon Music. But the calls kept coming. It wasn't just Neil Young. I'm just utilizing him because I think he's the one that actually got the conversation going. I know there's rumors about which artist is going next if, in fact, they continue having Joe Rogan on this platform. And if you're unfamiliar, Spotify signed a large contract not long ago with Joe Rogan to house his podcast because it has a lot of people listening to it. I mean, millions of people listening to Joe Rogan. For me, the appeal, I don't quite get it. And this is what I want to throw out there, because when I think about some of my friends that will, in fact, just put on this podcast and just listen, passively listen. Now, I think that's a key factor here, those that are passively listening and those that are, quite frankly, eating it up as though this is the alternative to what others are telling me. And that's what I want to discuss here, because you've been following along, trust in traditional media, your nightly news. I mean, mostly national. Some of that's trickled into, I think, some more regional news. And I think still the local news aspect is more trusted, at least in the broad sense of the term, than the national. But media trust is at an all-time low. I mean, people, oh, yeah, that's just what the media wants to tell you. That's fake news. And in doing some of that and having that mentality, and this is just me throwing out my gut feeling here, and you can certainly add yours in response and agreement or saying, boy, you're way off, Tyler. What are you thinking here? But you have this trust. You don't want to believe what they're saying. So you're out there trying to find, some other place that's telling you something different. Doesn't have to be factual, because quite frankly, it seems as though facts have scared people off from certain aspects in life these days. But you find somebody that's talking about a subject slightly different. And it doesn't have to even be true, but you're saying, all right, this is what everyone else is trying to keep me from knowing. And people have gravitated more towards that, I do believe, over the last few years than maybe ever before. I do not know, but it certainly seems over the course of, I would just peg the last 5 years, 6 years, that people are trying to find these other platforms and tell them something that they feel is being hid from them. And that's where Joe Rogan comes in. I mean, he talks about a variety of things. I know some people get very upset about it. Like I said, not really my bag. I mean, the Joe Rogan I remember was the Fear Factor Joe Rogan before he was the UFC Joe Rogan, before he was a Spotify podcaster here. But with all of this now, you've got Spotify throwing a disclaimer out there, of which I've got no issue with, because you think about when you were buying CDs, when you're buying cassettes. I don't think they did this back when 8-tracks were still around, but I would say that bridge between cassettes and CDs, you would have that little sticker. Parental advisory. Might be some language in here that you don't want your 15-year-old to be listening to. I mean, that's in essence how I'm viewing what Spotify is doing to say Joe Rogan or other podcasts out there. The thing that I wonder, it seems to me, based on COVID-19 misinformation. And you think about all the other nonsense out there as to where I think you could have this be umbrellaed under. Is it something you're saying, oh, this is just useless, unnecessary? Because I don't think it'll stop people from listening whatsoever. I really don't. People are either all in or all out. And I think that's 50%, half the country. The other half probably never heard of Joe Rogan until this week. And now when Neil Young and the whole Spotify situation. Do you care about this disclaimer? Do you think it does any good? Or do you think, you know what, he's providing that alternative out there, and that's why people are gravitating towards it? Just curious. The phone lines are open to you. I'll come back to them. Number of messages coming in at 35270. That is the I Consult of North Dakota Text Club. We'll check in with Rusty Halverson. He's got some more egg-related news, and, of course, we'll wrap up the final hour with recap of sports. I mean, you got the AFC-NFC Championship game. Did Tom Brady actually retire? Kirk Cousins going to the Pro Bowl? All of that coming up and so much more. Stick around. You get locked into KFGO Fargo.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used.
KFGO News, Fargo-Moorhead at 3:30. It's cloudy and 22. I'm Paul Juergens. Winter storm warning from 6 this evening until 3 tomorrow afternoon. A woman has died of injuries suffered in a Saturday morning apartment fire in Detroit Lakes. She's been identified as 61-year-old Carrie Bishop. The blaze was reported shortly before 10:30. Police Chief Steve Todd says damage was primarily contained to Bishop's apartment, although there was smoke damage elsewhere. Bishop's body was sent to the Ramsey County Medical Examiner in St. Paul. Detroit Lakes firefighters were assisted by Audubon and Frazee. Also responding were St. Mary's Essentia EMS, Purim EMS, Becker County deputies, Sanford AirMed, and the Salvation Army. New Rockford, North Dakota firefighters responded to a BNSF locomotive fire this morning. The westbound train was about 15 miles outside of the city limits when the fire started. Because of challenging rural travel conditions to get crews to the location, the engineers decided it was best to meet the fire department in New Rockford. Before the train arrived, officials contacted BNSF's Emergency Response Center and determined there was no hazardous or flammable material on the train. All the cars were loaded with sand. Smoke was visible, but no flames were seen inside the engine. Fire extinguishers were used to control and cool the fire. Damage was contained to the locomotive engine compartment. It appears a mechanical issue was the problem. No one hurt. 22, this is KFGO News. .22 cloudy. This is KFGO News. The Salvation Army had a successful Red Kettle campaign last year in Fargo-Moorhead. It raised more than $976,000 through Red Kettles and online contributions during the holiday season. The goal was $900,000. Major Abe Tomeo says he's grateful for the outpouring of support. Kicking off the state's largest budget surplus, the University of Minnesota is asking the legislature for $935 million in bonding money and other funds. University President Joan Gable.
We have our chemistry building in the Twin Cities and a science building in Duluth, and also the asset preservation for maintenance of the buildings that our students enjoy so that they get top-notch education and become the top-notch new talent that we know that we need.
Gable says the university is also requesting money for additional scholarships, ag research, and healthcare programs. As Valentine's Day approaches, the personal finance website Wallet Hub has released its report on the best and worst states for singles, and the news isn't great for North Dakota. The state ranks third worst overall for singles and is at the very bottom when it comes to gender balance and restaurants per capita, two key factors for dating. North Dakota's better than average median annual household income helped the state avoid the fate of West Virginia, which ranks last in the survey. California edged out New York for the number one spot for singles in America, while Minnesota ranked a respectable 12th, with South Dakota coming in 39th. Again, a winter storm warning until 3 tomorrow afternoon. It'll go into effect this evening. Fargo-Moorhead and the surrounding area. Mostly cloudy this afternoon. Looks like mid-20s to upper 20s for a high. Then wind moves in tonight. Some light snow. We may see mixed precipitation and some blowing snow. 8 for the overnight low. Tomorrow, windy at least part of the day. Areas of blowing snow in open areas. Light snow should end tomorrow morning. KFGO meteorologist Tom Shemansky is expecting just a trace to as much as an inch of snow this evening through early tomorrow morning. Decreasing clouds later in the day tomorrow. The high likely in the morning of about 10 degrees. Partly to mostly sunny Wednesday, only 6 below. Sunny Thursday, near 10 below. Fargo-Moorhead cloudy and 22. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
All right, if I ask you off air, be prepared for me to ask you on air, Rusty Halverson.
Roger.
Ask if you play video games.
Yep, I do.
Uh-huh.
Yep, I do.
I saw over the weekend during the games, which we'll break down in the next hour, Derek Hansen, there was a commercial for Halo, a live action, I think it was a television series on one of the streaming, Peacock or whatever.
Paramount. Something.
Yeah, one of those two.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of all the video game movies or series that have been out. Has there ever been a good one? I mean, you think about Mario, the Smash Brothers movie. That wasn't very good.
Yeah, I can't say I've seen that.
I think about Doom with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Not good.
Haven't seen it.
There's some Resident Evil movies.
Tomb Raider, right?
Was Tomb Raider good?
No, it wasn't good. I'm saying it's a movie.
You are right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so this crossover between having a video game and then making it into a live action thing has not been a successful formula.
Yeah.
And if somebody out there thinks I'm wrong and say, hey, this was a pretty good one that was based on a video game, well, let me know because I haven't seen it yet.
The trailers for Uncharted with Tom Holland, Spider-Man, for those that are in the MCU, look interesting. I'm not sure that it's going to be good, but it looks like it could be better than average for a video game movie.
Verdict's still out on that one.
Not based on a real video game, but in a video game world. Free Guy, the movie that came out not too long ago with Ryan Reynolds, was pretty entertaining.
See,
that was fun.
That's not.
I've seen trailers.
Count.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it either.
Yeah,
like Ryan Reynolds, probably liked the movie, but that's a video game that was adapted into a TV show or a movie. There has not been a good one.
Did they ever do anything with Frogger?
Seinfeld did an amazing episode. Okay, well, we'll have that debate after we get you caught up with CBS National News. What do you got for me this hour?
Well, the final number is still being tallied, but officials from the U.S. Meat Export Federation confident that pork exports to Mexico could set a new record for 2021, Tyler. We could surpass the previous high we reached in 2017. U.S. MEF Representative Gerardo Rodriguez says part of the success is related to big box retailers reaching out directly to consumers in Mexico. Now, those are pork exports to Mexico. Want to talk to you a little bit about pork imports from Mexico, and not the kind we want. Officials from U.S. Customs and Border Protection saying agents recently seized prohibited meat products at the U.S.-Mexican border. We talked last week a little bit about all those pork products from Asia, China specifically.
That was at KFGO.com, and I couldn't read what the labels were, and I could not identify by looking at the meat.
Yep. So customs agents at the Mexican border also seized 243 pounds of prohibited pork bologna in two separate unrelated incidents. Now, one, 55 pounds of pork products on January 13th, seized. Another 188 pounds of bologna on January 21st, seized. Undeclared items at the border can result in a large civil penalty. Now, again, we're talking about just food safety, for one, and preventing the introduction of foreign animal diseases. But can you imagine having 188 pounds of pork bologna?
No. When's the last time you just had a good bologna sandwich?
It's been a couple of weeks.
Oh, it's been okay. God, I grew up on bologna.
Oh, the best.
Bologna, American cheese.
Yep.
Back in the day when I was a child, it was just white bread. I've moved on from the white. So I'm curious what the difference, how they identified this coming in, saying, nah, we don't want that bologna.
Well, I'm not sure. In the USDA press release that I read, didn't go really into detail. But it was undeclared, and it was, you can't do that. You can't do that. So if anybody happens to be listening that they might be going to perhaps a wedding for their brother this week.
I know a couple of people doing that.
Yeah. Please don't bring back any pork bologna from Mexico.
We'll stick with Yasko Meyer right here, good old USFA.
Right here.
All right, Rusty, I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
I'll talk to you again tomorrow, all right?
Okay, sounds good.
Rusty Halverson, you can go to KFGO.com. You can check out his work, more of Sarah Heinrich's work there. Just click on that agriculture tab. We'll get you that CBS National News update. messages coming in about Joe Rogan, about Rachel Maddow, about just this whole media consumption. That's the path we're on when we come back right here on KFGO.
Robertson here with another Untitled News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen, Couch
790.
Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voice of Sports.
Too tall.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah
7.
Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
to encompass that all with here is I think information sharing has changed so much, but I don't know that our media consumption or the way of which we take in that information, I don't think it's caught up. Yeah, because you think about, go back to the 50s, just pulling out a decade here. You know that you got your nightly news, and that was, it was presented to you, it was factual, and that was it. Or you had your radio on, and your local DJ or your local broadcaster was providing you with the day's events, saying, this is what happened today. Here's what newsmakers are discussing for future. Yeah, I mean, you get what I'm getting at here. That was it. Your newspapers. That was it. Now there are so many different outlets with so many different angles, and quite frankly, I think a lot of it has been driven so much in a market mentality to get clicks, to get listeners, to have as many shares as possible, to get that attention because you got a product that's wanted to be sold somewhere. And I don't know that we've caught up to understanding how different the landscape is when it comes to media now. So sure, we can use Joe Rogan as the latest poster child of this, and there's got to be a disclaimer there. But it comes back to, and I think about this in politics all the time too, when we think about how did so-and-so get here elected, how dangerous, quote, that candidate is or that elected official is. Well, clearly they've tapped into something that's already there for people in that base, in that consumer, to where, I mean, you can't always just be pointing at everyone else saying that's the fault or that's the problem or this person's to blame without starting to question some of our daily habits, some of our daily consumption, some of the way of which we digest information. So, when we talk about this disclaimer now coming up, I don't think it's going to lose him, any viewers or followers, whatever you want to say, listeners. Just like I don't think it impacted, Eminem, Dr. Dre. You're going to be seeing them on the halftime show of the Super Bowl. Those disclaimers, I think, have people feeling better about things, but I don't know that they do much. And when it comes to what he says, and if we're just talking about he being Joe Rogan versus Rachel Maddow, what she said on MSNBC, without having the individual saying, okay, I understand what part of this might be based on a fact and what part of this is an opinion. Yeah, as far as what you're listening to right now, I'm a talk show host. I'm throwing out my opinions, my observations of things. And you take it as such, and then you respond either agreeing, disagreeing with that, with your opinion. I think we've had that relatively clear, that I'm just an opinion talk shows. When you're listening to those across the hall from me, when you're hearing KFGO news, that's news. That's based on fact. And there's a clear separation of those. I might give my opinion on what I heard from that news, but I think on the larger scale now that has been such a graying of all of this is you've got, these the Maddows of the world or the Sean Hannitys to where they're presenting it as though it is news when it's really laced with a broad brush of opinion. And I think that has blurred lines so much that people are saying, you know what, can't trust any of it. And that trust has impacted where you're going for that information, which gets us back to why I think Joe Rogan's become so successful over the last few years. Messages coming in. I'll get back to those. I got to get a weather update from Too Tall. Tom Szymanski will tell you about that winter storm watch this evening through tomorrow afternoon. He'll provide all the latest information there. I'll get back to all of your thoughts, and then we'll wrap up today's show talking about sports with Derek Hansen in just a little bit. Stick around.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of independence.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Robertson here with another Untitled News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas Couch
790.
Potato Radio. Did you see that?
From It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah
7.
Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night. Got out of the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
We'll dive into whether or not Tom Brady's actually retired or not after the top of the hour. People were, as the kids say, dunking on Adam Schefter pretty hard this weekend. And some other guy, I think it's from ESPN, whose name escapes me.
Adam Schefter. And
no, Adam Schefter, but there was another guy too.
Oh, yeah. But are you a little bit, I know how you feel about Tom Brady and the fact that he's in your division, but wouldn't it be entertaining if we get a spite season out of Tom Brady?
I'm not going anywhere.
Well, now I'm not doing it.
You're just going to share that video from Wolf of Wall Street, Leo, without any caption. You're just sharing that over the weekend. Didn't see it happen, but it's just weird. Here's what I predict happen is Schefter gets out ahead of himself, ahead of Tom Brady's wanting to break this, but he wants to be the person to break it. So now it's that whole, well, we're just now talking. And then at some point, maybe after the Super Bowl, he'll say, look, yeah, it's time. He'll have some big, beautifully produced video, him and the family. That's what, so it's the whole, how could you do this to me? I've been playing this game for 20 plus years. I am as the GOAT as I roll my eyes, and you couldn't let me announce my own retirement. That's the way I'm viewing this situation. We'll see what Derek Hansen thinks in a little bit. In the meantime, I'm going to go back to the Eye Consultants of North Dakota Text Club, 35270. Tyler, here's the deal with Rogan. So many experts, and that's used in quotations, have been wrong lately. And when they want to squash people who disagree with them, people start to wonder if they really are experts, why won't they debate those who disagree with them? I think that last part's an interesting question. And it's one of those, do you ignore it and then hope it just goes away, that you don't draw more attention to them, and all of a sudden you got more people believing what you say is wrong? Because I think sometimes that happens more than we want to admit. I think certainly in politics it happens. Well, I'm just going to ignore that, and then, I'm not going to give them the time to go on and have that debate with them. And I think sometimes it comes back to kind of nip them a little bit. And it's a fair question. I mean, if you think that they are wrong, then why not go on and do that? Tyler, the line is so blurred with news versus opinion. Most are confused that mainstream media deserves the criticism. They don't investigate, just report their bias. And you don't see it because you agree, just like conservatives agree with Rogan, Fox, and Newsmax. I don't agree with that broad brush, that they don't research. They just report. I think the deep diving research, again, because of the way we consume things now, we don't want to give anything more than 3 minutes of attention. I mean, if you're on Facebook and you see a video pop up, right? What's one of the first things you do? Well, how long is this thing? And if it's more than 2 minutes, I'm not going to watch it. So they've now curtailed the way in which they do things to where they don't do the deep dives. But I think somewhere between what you're saying on mainstream media and, say, Fox or Newsmax, there are facts. There is reality. Somebody's got to be right at some point, right? I got about a minute here. I'm going to go to the phone lines and visit with Scott. Scott, thanks for calling in. I got about a minute for you.
Okay, just really quickly, I heard something on the conservative radio today about how the people Spotify was shutting Joe Rogan down, or the people were shutting him down. And to me, the question is Spotify, can't they shut him down themselves if they want to?
Yeah, they absolutely can. I mean, it's their company. They can. Them saying that he's shutting down is not true. They're putting a disclaimer on his podcast. So that's where it comes to cancel culture, and not entirely. But it is a private business. So they can. Scott, I got to let you go. I'm getting counted down here. I appreciate the phone call. Tell you what, we'll continue this conversation a little bit more. Also, sports with Derek Hansen. That's after the CBS and KFGO News.
Robertson here with another Untitled News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen, Couch
790.
Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that kind of we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address. Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.
Roberson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your home.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice
4:05 on a Monday afternoon, and time for a fact checker at 4. These are some of the things that you're probably seeing on your social media accounts. We tell you whether or not they're factual or not. This one I saw on Reddit. It's a video of a drone, and it says, hey, it's a lovely day to test the new drone. Such a lovely day to test out my drone. And what it is, you've got a lot of trees that comes on, swoops down, and a guy's running, and there's a bear chasing it.
That seems like it would have been set up.
It was. And this is from Snopes. After much research, we uncovered evidence that pointed to the idea that the clip was a clever and interesting combination of drone video and the work of a visual effects artist. So sharing that as the holy cow moment, it wasn't true. It didn't actually happen. So that's one. Here's another one for you. This is from Ron Johnson, U.S. Senator, Wisconsin. All these athletes are dropping dead on the field after receiving the COVID-19 vaccination, he said last week. He did say it. Not true.
Yeah, has anyone
don't be sharing
dropped dead on the field recently?
No, I haven't seen that one. And so Ron Johnson, a U.S. Senator, not being factual there. Do not retweet, do not share, do not like, all that. You know the rules. Speaking of athletes, we'll talk about sports in just a little bit. Derek Hansen will be in studio, host of Couch Potato Radio. That is coming up in this next hour of Afternoons Live.
KFGO News, it's cloudy, Fargo-Moorhead, 23. I'm Paul Juergens. Winter storm warning going into effect this evening. It'll be in effect until mid-afternoon tomorrow, primarily for blowing snow. A deputy state fire marshal is investigating the cause of a deadly apartment fire in Detroit Lakes. The blaze was reported at about 10:30 Saturday morning on Loring Avenue. 61-year-old Carrie Bishop died. The Ramsey County Medical Examiner's Office will determine a cause of death. Fire damage was held to Bishop's apartment, but there was smoke damage throughout. The Audubon and Frazee fire departments assisted Detroit Lakes crews. A house fire in St. Cloud has killed one person while firefighters rescued another person in a wheelchair. A third person was able to make it out of the burning home. Police and the fire department found smoke in the house. They found the person in the wheelchair on the first floor and were told there was still another person on the second floor. Due to heavy smoke, first responders were not able to check that second level immediately. As they worked to put the fire out, an adult victim was found on the second floor. A man was killed when he was struck by an SUV on a highway in Towner County in northern North Dakota. The state patrol says 65-year-old Charles Huvenen was slouched in a lane of traffic on Highway 281 near Rock Lake when he was hit last night. The driver of the SUV is a 41-year-old woman from Candu. Huvenen was from Rock Lake. South Dakota Congressman Dusty Johnson is seeking a third term. The 45-year-old Republican announced his run for the state's House seat in a statement that touted his conservative record and effectiveness on agriculture policy. He's facing a primary challenge from state lawmaker Representative Taffy Howard. Democrats have not announced a candidate for the general election. The John Bear Grease Sled Dog Marathon is underway.
3, 2, 1, and there is your final competitor in the 38th annual John Bear Grease
That's how it sounded for fans watching in person and on the free live web stream as the 300-mile race began from Billy's Bar in Duluth. The longest sled dog race in the lower 48 states will wrap up in Grand Portage, Minnesota. The Bear Grease is a qualifier for the Iditarod, the premier level race in Alaska in March. Winter storm warning from this evening through mid-afternoon tomorrow. KFGO Weather Center forecast from meteorologist Tom Shemansky. Windy tonight, areas of light snow, maybe some mixed precipitation, some blowing snow in open areas, and the overnight low near 8 degrees. Tomorrow, windy, areas of blowing snow for a time. Actual snowfall should end early morning and then decreasing clouds. High of only 10 degrees, though, and anywhere from a trace to as much as an inch of snow this evening through early tomorrow morning. Fargo-Moorhead. Partly to mostly sunny on Wednesday, 6 below. Sunny Thursday, 10 below. Cloudy, 23. Paul Juergens, News Radio, KFGO.
KFGO time, 4:10 Monday afternoon. And you know what that means. It's time to recap the weekend that was. In sports with Derek Hansen, host of Couch Potato Radio, in studio.
Good afternoon.
Before there was a coin toss, before there was anything done on the field, there was a lot of conversation about who was not going to be returning to the field next year.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, they said, hey, he's retiring 22 years. You had all these breakdowns of how he's the greatest of all time. And then it's kind of got awkward after that. Is he retired or is he not retired?
I think he's going to let this settle down now and then probably do it on his own terms if he does do it.
That's how I view it, too.
Yeah, because, Adam Schefter and ESPN, they just can't help themselves. Yeah. And for their sake, they better hope he retires now because this could be a pretty big egg on the face type of situation. I'm not saying it's, Dewey defeats Truman, but it's pretty close. So I almost want him to come back just to
See,
stick it in.
that's what I'm worried about is I'm doing this out of spite. One more year.
Why? You don't enjoy greatness of seeing you're watching the best quarterback of all time.
Twice in a year, man. I've seen I mean, what more can he do?
Not much.
No,
I said that. Well, I said that last year. I mean, when he was getting drunk on the boat, I'm like, what more do you want to do, man? You let down your, you kind of chilled out. That's who. I would have walked away last year because he had nothing to prove. What did this year do for him? I didn't understand coming back this year.
I didn't either, and I wish he wouldn't have, but he did.
Yeah, but regardless, it's. Yeah. I enjoy watching him. I enjoy greatness. I don't necessarily cheer for him. It's kind of like Michael Jordan. I could go down the line of great athletes I appreciated, and we can say that we watched the best ever do it. Yeah. It's amazing.
And we can even say that right now after he's announced he's retired.
Yes,
I don't need to see another year.
It is something, unless he just wants to play until he can't. I mean, he obviously can play longer if he wants to.
I mean, I think last year he said, look, I feel like I can play till I'm 45.
With all these rumors about that number 12 retiring and all the rumors of the other number 12, if he doesn't, he could retire or want to trade or stay where he's at. Who's the best quarterback in the NFC? I asked Jack Michaels this earlier.
Following that?
Let's say Aaron Rodgers gets
Brady.
Traded or retires, and if Brady retires, is it if Stafford wins it, is he the best? Is it Dak?
I know.
Is it Kirk Cousins?
Who's going to the Pro Bowl because that number 12 is injured apparently now. No.
But I mean, just think the disparity of young quarterbacks in the AFC versus the NFC right now.
I have to go Stafford, especially if he does
win.
now.
Yeah.
He had a choppy end of the season, but Kyler Murray's got to be in that conversation.
He does.
He's dynamic.
He's still on the prove it mode, I think, but you're right. I mean, the potential is there for him to be the best, probably.
See, and I put Dak above just because more wins, I think, above Kyler Murray right now.
Mm-hmm.
But of those, I think you've got to go. You got to go with Matthew Stafford because
Matt Ryan's kind of done, right? Would you agree?
Yep.
I mean, he had some moments.
Yeah, he had his peak. I'm trying to think of who else. Jalen Hurts has still got a lot to prove. Somebody goes, how about Russell Wilson? That's a great, Russell.
That's the one.
Yep.
If he's still that. I mean, that's the question. We don't know if he is still that, right? Because he was injured. I mean, he didn't have a great year. I think that's safe to say. So, I mean, because he was hurt half of it, too.
Yeah, there's one bad year on Russell Wilson. His crowd comes in question marks.
Well, I mean, for the future. I mean, I'm talking about in 2022, who is the best quarterback? I mean, you're right. I mean, Russell Wilson's a Hall of Famer. There's no getting around that. But right now, who would be the guy going in that you'd say is the best quarterback in the NFC?
All right, that's the NFC. That's the bar is set at that talent.
I mean, trust me, I'd take Russell Wilson right now as a Viking fan. I'm sure a lot of fans are looking at that because that's another one that's kind of under the radar because of the Rodgers stuff.
Oh, yeah. Derek is right. That Wilson did suck this year. Tyler, if Brady announces before February 5th, he loses a $15 million bonus. Did not know that. Okay, I think I could wait a couple of weeks to make sure I collect on that.
And unless he does it over the weekend, the Pro Bowl weekend, don't you think he wants to wait till after the Super Bowl? I mean, he doesn't want to have the whole Super Bowl be about him. It's just, I'm sure
and
this
that's
is
the
true.
way it would be, too. It'd be wall-to-wall coverage, not of these two great stories that we're going to be able to talk about. It'd be about Tom Brady retiring.
I'm guessing somewhere Jim Gray, because if you listen over the years, they didn't have it this year, but he would do the halftime and pregame with Jim Gray on Westwood One's coverage. And I'm sure he's known probably for a while and sat on it. He's probably looking at Schefter going, come on, man. I mean, what are you doing? This is the thing that could get you burned. Yeah, you can get the scoop now, but it could really burn you down the road if you want to get more scoops.
Adam Schefter's had a couple of those moments, I think, this year to where he's got out and then he's kind of had to correct things. And I think there's been some exposed about his closeness to some of the sources. So I don't know. The way of which he's been characterized over the years that, oh my God, nobody knows more about what the ins and outs are than Adam Schefter. I think that there's some
They should have
Dents
never
in the
fired
armor
John
there.
Clayton at ESPN. So they had those layoffs, and then I think he ended up at the NFL Network eventually. I haven't seen him in a long time. He was really good at what he did. But no, it's an interesting matchup. I just sat there as the NFC Championship game was going on and saying Joe Burrow in his second year with the Bengals, Jimmy Garoppolo or Matthew Stafford are going to be a Super Bowl champion. That just blew my mind away. Once Mahomes is knocked out, I was like, we're going to see something new this year, which is great.
And that's what I think it was on Friday when I said this is the matchup I want for the Super Bowl is the Bengals and the Rams, just because it would be something new. You have Joe Burrow, which I really wanted to not like this kid. I find myself really starting to say, okay, because he's also proven it on the field.
Well, he's got that it factor that I always talk about that I just don't know if Cousins has. I hope he can find it somewhere. But, coming into a decade in the league, it's hard to find. But he just has it. We saw it at LSU. We've seen the growing of age. I would have never guessed that kid I watched the week one in the overtime loss that the Vikings had to Bengals was going to be going to the Super Bowl this year. That's crazy.
The high knees out of that potential tackle, that's when I knew that, okay, this kid's he can evade, just as we were talking about Pat Mahomes on the other side. What happened over halftime? I mean, they score on their first 3 drives in the Kansas City Chiefs, up 21, I think, to 3. And then to have that collapse at home surprised me.
Good halftime adjustments, you know, and it's one of those things, too, where they just couldn't get anything rolling. And they kept on trying to run it to that one back, and I just was kind of scratching my head on it. McKinnon was getting some running yards, the former Viking, and we all are familiar with him if you watch the Bison playoffs way back when. So
Georgia Southern,
it's really, I don't know. They just could not get into sync in the second half, and that was really – and whatever the adjustments the Cincinnati Bengals made on the front 4 defensively, that really worked because that was hassling number 15 all afternoon into the evening long.
It just – it count me as probably 80% of the people, 90% of the people saying, well, this one's over.
Yeah, right. For sure.
There's no way you think that they're going to collapse with.
Yeah, I was sitting here listening to it while I was doing some work here after the Bison wrestling match. And it was nuts. I couldn't believe they came back. It was kind of a blink of the eye thing too, where the announcer said, and I looked up, I'm like, really? They just tied it up 21-21? I couldn't believe it.
The fact that they were getting so much grief for drafting a kicker as high in the draft as they did for Cincinnati. Yeah. That kid
how'd that work
also,
out?
It's working out quite well. They're going to the Super Bowl. And I mean, it's great to hear teammates say, oh, yeah, and his name escapes me. I forget. I apologize. That, oh, yeah, well, I guess we're going to the AFC Championship, and then, I guess we're going to the Super Bowl. And that's the confidence level you need in a kicker. Love it. I love it.
And so I caught the end of it in my office with the TV on. So I was going back and forth the studio. And Tony Romo says, the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl. I'm like going, this obviously isn't a Vikings game because there's no way I'd be saying that before a chip shot field goal in the playoffs. Yeah. Certainly in the conference championship game. I was like, man, I hope you didn't just jinx them, Tony.
Tony had a rough day yesterday, too. People were trying to dunk on him because, well, you got to let Pat Mahomes score here so you got more time. Yeah, there was, go listen to some of what Romo said. People were kind of confused because he gets so excited. And part of that I enjoy. And I also enjoy thinking, geez, if you could break this down so well from here, couldn't you have done that when you were a quarterback? But anyway, that's all other conversation. NFC, let's break that down. Also, would you want to be playing USA soccer in Minneapolis on Wednesday of this week? Because that's going on. Yep, I'll tell you about that. Can you imagine how cold that would be?
No.
You got to locked in Afternoons Live. I'm Tyler Axis, your host. That's Derek Hansen. Coming back to you right after this.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of independence.
Steve Alberson here with another Untitled News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen, Couch
790.
Potato Radio. Did you see that?
From It Takes Two.
Doug Miller with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Force.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out, and just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable.
Wrapping up Monday's program as we always do, and that's recapping sports from the weekend. We broke down a little bit of that AFC title game. You have the Cincinnati Bengals, first time in 33 years that they're going to be in the Super Bowl. And now on the other side, you got Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams. Stafford is 13 seasons in? 10?
Sure.
Yeah. Double digits at least. Yeah. Getting there for the first time.
Seems like he's been in for a long time.
Yep, and he's been beat up. He's been banged up. He's been playing with a team that just didn't have the team around him. I mean, he had some great receivers, but in Detroit, he just didn't get. That's why I think I was on the Matthew Stafford bandwagon.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people are, and I think people in Michigan are too. It's one of these things where we were mentioning this today with Jack Michaels, and I were talking about some of the athletes that went on to a different team to finally win the championship, and now with the team that they're with. Paul Molitor did that. He's with the Brewers forever, went to the Blue Jays, finally won a world championship. Ray Bourque was with the Boston Bruins forever, had to go to the Colorado Avalanche to finally win it. So, Garnett with the T-Wolves and Celtics.
Anything's possible.
And so this is a situation much like that where you had a guy who was very good but just didn't have the tools around him to win a title, and now he might. So, and the Rams went for broke too, and a lot of people criticize them. They went out, got Jalen Ramsey, they got OBJ, they got Von Miller. Made a trade for an aging defensive end to go right next to Aaron Donald. So this could be one of those things where people will look at it and say, it's not a bad idea to do this.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that much in the NFL. Usually everyone wants to go by the draft, but they trade away a lot of their picks. They went for broke this year.
Well, and that's what, going back to Tom Brady, that's how I felt that the Buccaneers really did over the last couple of years. To get Gronkowski, to get all those other pieces there. I mean,
Sue, there's a bunch of guys.
Yeah, I equated it. Maybe it wasn't fair to the NBA teams, which you get all the superstars. You think about the Lakers, or you think about Golden State. To whereas, all right, you got talent. We'll figure out the details in the checkbook. Come down, let's win a title.
I think the only difference there is, because you're right, but a lot of the stars we're talking about are kind of on the tail ends of their careers, right? I mean, you're talking Von Miller. That's not a guy you'd think that'd come in. I mean, they got Eric Weddle off the street, literally. I mean, their former veteran, he literally came off the street. Been on the league since 2019, and he comes in. Now he's going to the Super Bowl. He just joined the team in the playoffs. I mean, it's crazy. Same thing with Brady and some of the other guys. Sue, they've been in the league for a while. Where the superstars, we talked about like the Heat, when they gathered all their players, that was right in the heart of when they were at their prime, right? You're talking Wade and James and Bosh and the Lakers and what they're doing. It's kind of crazy to see this happen.
It is. This goes to it. Tyler, did you see how happy Stafford's wife was? Yeah. And where Matt got killed, he got out of
she's stuck
Detroit. Now in LA with millions and in the Super Bowl, of course she's happy. Yeah.
Probably worked out.
It worked out quite well.
I was laughing, though. I posted this last night because being as old as I am, right in the height of when the Super Bowl became huge in the 80s, I just got a kick out the fact that the Bengals might be looking at the 49ers again for the Super Bowl matchup. The other two did not work out to have been, and that had been, I think, the first time though where they would have met for the third time, because I think the Cowboys and I guess it would tie with the Cowboys and Steelers. So
the number of matchups
and then they
in the
matched
Super
up 3 times in the history of the Super Bowl where that would have tied that. So
this is also the second year in a row which you got a home team playing at their stadium for the Super Bowl. Had never happened in Super Bowl history. Now it's back to back.
And we thought it might happen to the Vikings, and then they got destroyed by the Eagles. But
he could have had 3 in a row.
But that really is something. Well, the Rams and the Patriots, I think, are mixed in there somewhere. But yeah, it's hard to believe. Although the Rams don't really have a home field advantage.
No, that's
what
is it about LA not caring at all about their football team?
Well, because because it's not their football team. It was, then it's not. I mean, the thing is, I think we talked about this, didn't we, Eric, last week, of the fact that
I like that you have to confirm with him that we talked about.
Well,
I don't remember.
It's been a long weekend, but yeah, there's a lot of people who are transplants. You go there, there's Bears bars, there's Viking bars, there's Packer bars, and so not many people are from there. And then when you move 2 franchises out of there in the 80s or early 90s, and then you try to put 2 back, and one of them's been the rival down in San Diego, it's an awkward thing. And you're going to see this in Vegas and LA a lot, I think, where people are going to have this be a destination. And so it's going to feel like a Super Bowl. It's half and half for many of these games, if not more sometimes.
And I like that. I mean, even yesterday's game, you had half Niners fans in there. It was loud the entire game. And I get it. Yeah, we're just taking it in on radio or watching on TV. It still energizes you a little bit knowing how raucous it is in there. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be a Niners. Trey Lance will be the starter, I think.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's gone. Oh, yeah. Look, he proved why you needed to move up to draft, 3rd overall in Trey Lance. Because, he showed it because he has that late game poor decision making.
Yeah.
To where throwing that pass, and if I was the guy that put $20 on a bet that got $570,000 back, you were probably clenched up real tight in the fact that could have been a pick 6, but it wasn't. But either way, I mean that cinched it obviously.
So obviously it's going to be a weird situation for there's always these Kirk Cousins trade rumors because it would free them up $35 million of the cap. Jimmy Garoppolo, Pittsburgh opening, possible Buccaneers opening. Possible Green Bay opening if there is a deal. Obviously Green Bay might get a quarterback in return, or Aaron Rodgers just stays. I'm just throwing these things out. I mean, it's going to be a really intriguing offseason when it comes to that, because how much are you going to give up for Garoppolo, knowing what you get? I mean, he stumbles his way into wins all times, but then he does these crazy things that you just can't figure out. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I know. And following just a crazy playoff schedule. I mean, this whole year with the NFL they could not have asked for more.
No.
And if I'm MLB, I'm saying, okay, fellas, let's get figured out here.
I know. Yeah. Let's not play games. The NFL is doing so well playing their games. Let's just not have any.
More sports talk on Afternoons Live next.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Roberson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Dear
Mighty
Kansas
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that
from It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall.
Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
News and weather this hour brought to you by Muscatel Pre-Owned. Muscatel was voted #1 by localsloveus.com for good reason. So stop in today at Muscatel Pre-Owned, just off of Exit 1 in Moorhead.
Cloudy, Fargo-Moorhead, 23 degrees. I'm Paul Jurgens. A fourth candidate is in the race for Fargo mayor. Dustin Elliott says he works in the loan department of a Fargo bank. Elliott says he's a political newcomer. He says he believes there should be more transparency of the investigation into the police department. The city commission voted recently to investigate the performance of Chief Dave Zabolski in the department in general following the retirements and resignations of more than 24 officers and civilian employees since Zabolski took over in the fall of 2020. Mayor Tim Mahoney is seeking another term. Also running are Fargo State Legislator Shannon Roars-Jones, City Commissioner Arlette Preston, and community activist Hukun Dubar. The filing deadline is April 11th. The election is in June. A woman has died of injuries suffered in a Saturday morning apartment fire in Detroit Lakes. She's been identified as 61-year-old Carrie Bishop. The blaze was reported shortly before 10:30. Police Chief Steve Todd says damage was primarily contained to Bishop's apartment, although there was smoke damage elsewhere. Bishop's body was sent to the Ramsey County Medical Examiner in St. Paul. Detroit Lakes firefighters were assisted by Audubon and Frazee. Also responding were St. Mary's Essentia EMS, Purim EMS, Becker County deputies, Sanford AirMed, and the Salvation Army. 23, this is KFGO News. Cloudy, 23. This is KFGO News. The Fargo Salvation Army had a successful Red Kettle campaign last year. It raised more than $976,000 through Red Kettles and online contributions during the holiday season. The goal was $900,000. Major Abe Tomeo says he is grateful for the outpouring of support. Defense attorneys at the trial of 3 former Minneapolis police officers charged with violating George Floyd's civil rights have raised questions about department training in a culture they say teaches new officers not to question their superiors. Prosecutors say the 3 failed to give him medical aid as Officer Derek Chauvin knelt on Floyd's neck. The defense is trying to make the case that the training was not adequate, including in how to respond to someone in an agitated state. A Hennepin County District Judge has denied a request for a temporary restraining order to stop the shot or test mandate imposed by Minneapolis for bars and restaurants. The mandate will remain in place as the lawsuit against the city and Mayor Jacob Pry continues. Last week, a group of 7 restaurants and bars filed the suit seeking to end the mandate that requires customers show proof of receiving a COVID shot or a negative test within 72 hours. Winter storm warning from 6 this evening until mid-afternoon tomorrow, issued by the Weather Service that replaced the winter storm watch. Fargo-Moorhead tonight. Meteorologist Tom Szymanski is expecting the winds to increase. Some light snow moving in. We may see a little mixed precipitation. Some blowing snow in open areas eventually, and 8 for the overnight low. Tomorrow, a windy day. Areas of blowing snow in open areas once again. Light snow should end in the morning early, then decreasing clouds, high of only 10, and then slowly falling temperatures. A trace to an inch of snow this evening through early tomorrow morning for Fargo-Moorhead. Wednesday, partly to mostly cloudy, just 6 below for the high, 10 below, sunny on Thursday. Fargo-Moorhead, cloudy, south-southeast wind at 18, and it's 23. Paul Jurgens, News Radio, KFGO.
Got just a little bit of time left here on Afternoons Off. We'll get you caught up with some national news headlines. CBS will take care of that. Continue our conversation. Would you want to go watch Honduras play in St. Paul this week when it comes to soccer, when it's going to be a chilly 7 p.m. That's Eastern time when they start. Let's see what the forecast was supposed to be out there. I do believe it was like negative 13 degrees or something like that. Would you want to be out there watching soccer or playing? Chilly. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Also, Kirk Cousins going to the Pro Bowl. Does that mean anything when it comes to this offseason? We'll talk with Derek Hansen, host of Couch Potato Radio, next.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page. And send us a text anytime at 35270.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces.
Too tall,
Joel Heitkamp here on the
Kirk,
Mighty
Sarah Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate but also have a sense of independence.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just giving the greatest good. When we're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful.
It's in studio as we typically do. Here's one for you. So, you got this halftime show. This would be not Tupac, unless there's something we don't know.
That'd be quite a story.
There's been speculation of a conspiracy. Yeah. Dre will be there.
Tupac and Elvis come out together. Shock the world.
Cincinnati.
John F. Kennedy Jr. too.
Right. There's some people still awaiting some of that, though.
And they have been for 2 years.
Yeah. Are they still down in Texas around?
I don't
know. Cincinnati shocked the world. Here's what I just saw. Cincinnati public schools are going to cancel February 14th, the day after the Super Bowl.
For Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. I'm 4 minutes old realizing that the Super Bowl is the day before Valentine's Day. Fellas, you better start planning ahead.
The latest ever. Yeah, February 13th. So, yeah, if they go to 18 games, we might go right from the Super Bowl into the March Madness, which I'd love. That'd be great.
Be fine with me.
Yeah,
that'd
exactly.
be A-okay.
Because February is always the toughest month for TV sports on a Sunday. Because NASCAR comes up now; it's later, and I don't know why they don't do it. I would move the Daytona 500 up to this Sunday.
Yeah. What is it, like 3 weeks from now?
Yeah, it's 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. That's what I would do anyway. But it's going to be interesting. to see, these TV ratings. I know that they talked about this morning on Joel's show about moving it to Saturday, whatever. I get some of it, but TV talks, and it's just Sunday night's a huge night for TV, and Saturday just never has been. And I know it's just a couple of ratings points drop. That's millions of dollars. So.
For everyone else's sake that's not making money from the Super Bowl, though, God, it would be great if they moved it. Move it earlier, just earlier on Sunday for all I care.
Well, that's what I think they should do.
Yeah,
I mean, NFL football is on Sunday for me. There's no reason that people in LA should be upset if they start at 3 o'clock here and 1 o'clock out there.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
I know. Instead of a 5 p.m. kickoff or whatever it is.
I've never understood that. 100%. And it used to be that way when I was a kid. They would start at about 3 o'clock, and that was nice.
Yeah, you get done. You get all right. Be gone. The game's over. Take some leftovers of the queso. Don't forget the meatballs and the ribs. Tyler, Super Bowl should be on President's Day weekend, then get Monday off.
There you go. Back it up a week.
Fine. Yeah,
back up the season. Have more. Whatever you have to do.
Give people their day of rest. And now knowing that Valentine's Day is the day after this Super Bowl, there's nobody getting rest. You're going to be out there trying to get those last-minute ideas done.
I think they're just doing it for all the elementary teachers out there for Valentine's Day so they don't have to have it, because Halloween and Valentine's Day, I'm just telling you, and my mother was a third-grade teacher, a lot of sugar is going in there. I wound them up. Yeah, for sure.
Making those Valentine's Day boxes, though, when you're in elementary school,
great.
Those were, I think one time I actually had a football field.
Only, a couple people put their stuff in mine.
Yeah.
But,
they still have all those sweet cards that it used to be like Power Rangers and Batman.
I'm sure they do. Yeah, was it amazing that you come from a small town too? The prettiest girl in class, man. Her bag was bursting. Yeah.
Not enough room. And I don't care if it's a shoe box. I don't care if it's a cereal box. There was not enough room in that Valentine's delivery box for that individual.
That's an understatement. I can't fit my teddy bear in there for her. Yeah.
And then you'd have to be so, mindful of which card you were giving to her.
All right. Yep.
I'm going to save this.
Do they get to the point now with everything the way it is because they don't want to have people left out? Do they just
everybody gets one?
Everyone gets one, or you don't give any? I mean, that could be the case,
that
right?
Probably is. Yeah, bring enough.
I hope
you brought enough gum for everyone.
Yeah, I would hope. Yeah, I mean, because it is kind of a sad thing, you had the kid who just didn't fit in. Nice kids or whatever. I mean, but just didn't fit in with the other kids, and they only got a couple of them. I look back in the 80s. That happened way too often.
Yeah, that probably did. I'm trying to think of what, which Valentine's Day card that I typically went with. I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are pretty hot.
It's been so long for me. I mean, we probably had Star Wars Empire Strikes Back when I was doing in second grade. But I just, that's a long time ago in a galaxy far away from me. I mean, I just don't remember at all what we had. I can remember a lot of stuff in my youth, but that I can't remember.
Some people really enjoy those chalky flavored hearts.
Yeah, I love them.
You do?
I do.
I do not.
Yeah, the Brock's ones. Yeah,
sure,
I like them too, but I don't do them because it's so much sugar. I'm trying to cut that out of my life as much as possible.
When's the last time you think they updated the sayings on those things?
They still have sayings on them. I mean, they're down the hatch so fast. I don't even know. So that's a good question.
Me not being a fan, I don't buy.
But I don't see the big ones anymore. All I see is the mini ones. I can't find the big ones anymore. And I used to love those.
You can't really hide those because it looks like you just put chalk all over yourself.
Yes, that's for sure. I loved them, but a lot of people despise them. Kind of like
candy corn.
Candy corn controversies. That's kind of the same type of thing. I don't really candy corns. But during the fall, I love the big orange pumpkins. You know what I mean? The same type of thing. The cream type of thing. Yeah.
Is it just the appearance of it that it looks more appetizing, or what? I'm trying to.
No, they're just better.
Are they not the exact same thing in different shapes?
No, because there's a extra base of coating on the candy corn that I don't know what it is. It's too much of a waxy feel compared to the pumpkins.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Count me out on all of the above. You give me a Reese's peanut butter cup though, shaped in. The shape of a tree, a pumpkin, a heart. It's all the same shape, but I don't care.
So do you get suckered into every convenience store you walk into for that line of sight, temptation when you go up and you put your gas in, you go in, you maybe get something, and you walk around, there they are at the counter, and they're overpriced because there's not as big either, but you get that Christmas tree Reese's peanut butter cup. Oh, it's so good.
No, see, now what I've been going for, Take Fives.
Really?
Take
Those
Fives
are good.
Are some of the best candy bars you've ever had.
One of the more underrated.
Yeah, I
one
found
too, I
out
think.
live on this show when I said, because they got a pretzel, they got caramel, peanut butter. So then I realized, okay, they got 5 ingredients. That's why I said take 5. I felt pretty dang dumb.
Well, see,
which isn't uncommon
I have
during
the
show.
benefit of knowing because I grew up when they actually advertised for it when they first came out, so that's kind of what they would say. So there you have it.
I must have missed those commercials.
Yep.
Because they weren't always a Hershey's product, were they?
I have no earthly idea. I think so.
I didn't even know it was of the 5 ingredients.
I doubt
told
you're
them to take
alive
5.
when these commercials are going on, because it was probably during Saturday morning cartoons when I was watching Spidey and Friends or whatever.
The
it might have
X-Men
been.
cartoon,
yeah,
man. That
Bugs
was some
Bunny.
good stuff. Well, boy, we digressed quite a bit. All because Super Bowl's
it's
the day
football.
before
Hey, the
Valentine's.
Wild are red hot. They took a couple in New York, and the Wolves won last night over Utah. So the 2 winter sports teams in Minnesota right now are the 2 most successful teams in this year.
Mm-hmm.
Think
what
about
could have
that.
been?
I mean, the Twins and the Vikings are more popular, but the Wolves and the Wild, they are most definitely more successful within this year.
Yeah. I think somebody just got signed to an extension with the Wild too, wasn't it? I don't remember who I saw. But
It could be. I
think
did.
it was like a 9-year.
I missed that news, but no, they're rolling right now. And Zach Parise is playing for the Islanders, obviously a former UND standout. We always kind of cherish for his time here, but obviously that was a better move to get those guys out of the locker room. It's worked out.
Very good. I got to get a weather update from Too Tall Tom Schmansky. Derek Henson to stick around. I'm going to see what's coming up on the Drive Time News. KFGO evening lineup right around the corner. Stay with us.
So today on MSUM campus, we're doing an ice jam, which is we're combining a bunch of percussion instruments with ice instruments, which are also going to be used in a percussive form. We're going to hit them with mallets, hammers, all those types of things. Today is all improv, so we're all just kind of working with ideas that we just kind of think of as we go, and we kind of play off each other, and it's fun to collaborate, but also have a sense of independence.
Robertson here with another News Radio.
Hey, this is Abby Miller with the
Derek
Mighty
Hansen,
790.
Couch Potato Radio. Did you see that?
It Takes Two.
Doug here with the morning crew this morning.
Jerkins News Radio.
Amy Eiler with It Takes Two.
This is Jack Michaels, Voices Forces. Too Tall Tom. Joel Heitkamp here on the Mighty
Sarah
7.
Heinrich.
Tyler Axis, your host.
The Mighty 790 and 104.7 FM KFGO. The names you know, the voices you trust.
Well, we're doing a food giveaway event to the community. A lot of people are facing food insecurity at this time. As we can tell, we had to start about an hour early because we just had so many people lined up. So as people come up and they need whatever they need, volunteers are taking care of it. It's all contactless, so nobody has to get out. And just making sure whatever the greatest need. We're just getting the greatest good. We're going until the food is out. As people are coming in, if they need 2 boxes and 2 gallons of milk, that's what we're giving. We don't want to leave anybody out.
I was in the hospital, and I saw a flyer on the wall. And all the nurses were talking about taking people down there to get food and stuff. I got out last night, the hospital last night, and I said, man, I'm going to do this. When I came from Williston here, I lived on these streets for 3 years, caring. And that's what this is. That's the way I see it. Very helpful. I think it's going to be very helpful because I know people that are doing without.
I think it's truly remarkable how much need there is out there. Like I said, we were going to start at noon, but we had so many people lined up. We started at 11, and volunteers have been working their tail off since then. I'm thankful for that. I think this shows that there is some huge needs in the community, and we got some things we got to address.
Thanks for watching News and Views on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our page, and send us a text anytime at 35270.